Hey guys, let's go over the Trump indictments. I'm working off the word on the street that the indictments will be based on the handling of a payment to Stormy Daniels in 2016 for, allegedly, keeping silent about certain activities with Donald Trump. Now, if that payment happened for that reason, that's not by itself a problem. It happens all the time. It's not a crime, and people pay people off. There's no victim there. So what's up then? The idea is that Trump accounted for it wrongly in his business records. There's a concept that it was to benefit his campaign. I mean, if these rumors came out, it could have hurt his campaign theoretically. So instead of having it recorded that way, he had it recorded, or it was recorded as a legal expense or something like that. It was put somewhere where it shouldn't have been. It wasn't reported as a campaign contribution or something like that. If you're ultra worked up about that, I assume you already hated the guy. And that's okay. That's your right. Anyway, falsifying business records in New York can be a crime. Let's start with second degree and work our way up. Under New York Penal Law 175.05, you can be guilty of falsifying business records in the second degree if you meet these elements. You make or you cause to be made a false entry in the business records of an enterprise. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump's not sitting in QuickBooks doing this stuff, right? So you can also cause it to be made. Or you alter, erase, obliterate, delete, remove, or destroy a true entry in the business records. Or you omit to make a true entry in the business records of an enterprise in violation of a duty to do it. You prevent the making of a true entry, or you cause the omission thereof in the business records of an enterprise. So there you go. Pretty straightforward, I suppose. Problem, it's a Class A misdemeanor. You're doing all this stuff over a misdemeanor? That doesn't look too good. Yeah, I know some hypocrites will say, no one's above the law, while they ignore crimes by every politician they like. But it will be telling, as reported, that even Alvin Bragg won't try to sell this. He's going to go for felonies. The second problem, the statute of limitations. A misdemeanor in New York has to be prosecuted within 2 years. Oops. Is the no one's above the law crowd shouting, of course he can't be prosecuted for misdemeanors? The statute of limitations is run. That would be unjust. Yeah, I didn't think so. People are just shouting what they already think on the stuff without looking at what's really going on. Both sides. Now, the statute of limitations can be told, but up to a maximum of 5 years. This can carry back to 2016 based on my calendar, but that depends on when the payment was made. And also the prosecutor being able to show the 2-year period did not run with the defendant being continuously outside of his state. The way we'd have to look at the extension. And I'm not going to do it yet because I don't think it applies. So you could toll the statute of limitations, but Trump spent a lot of time in New York after this payment. And I don't think the DA thinks he can make it under the statute of limitations. Plus, he doesn't want to charge misdemeanors. That's stupid. What if Donald Trump had a library book he didn't return? Unlikely, but would you prosecute him for it? Some people certainly would. Anyway, the prosecutor has another option that's far more attractive and satisfies the maddening crowd that wants to see this, and that is falsifying business records in the first degree. This has the bonus of being a felony. Now you're getting somewhere. Trump indicted on felonies. This has to be serious. It's no mere misdemeanor. This is a felony, people. This is terrible. So the shouting point is achieved. It also has the bigger bonus, and probably more important in reality, of a 5-year statute of limitations. This means the period you have to show the statute was told is 3 years less than a misdemeanor. So all that time Trump spent in New York is not going to help him as much here. You're just going to have to be able to show 5 years plus an amount of time he was outside of New York. And maybe they can do that and maybe they can't. Now, to get to first degree falsifying business records, you meet all of the elements of the second degree that we just talked about. Plus, the defendant has the intent to defraud that includes an intent to commit another crime or aid or conceal the commission of another crime. He can pay off Stormy Daniels. People get paid off all the time. The crime has to be something else. Here, the theory is it was to benefit his campaign. Did Trump have the intent to benefit his campaign in a criminal way that he was trying to conceal by however this was entered on the books? I don't know. I don't have the facts on that one way or the other. I know there's some facts out there. But again, whether the case is made or not, it depends on this extra element, which involves his mental state, and that usually gets tougher for the DA to establish. Now, of course, proving the case is only one goal here, obviously. The other goal is simply to get an indictment finally and put him through the process. So Alvin Bragg is batting 50% now. Even if he loses the actual case, he got a lot achieved of what he hoped to do when he was put into his position. Now, You still got to toll that statute of limitations because this has been more than 5 years ago, however you look at it, I think, at least from when the payment occurred. So the tolling statute says that the defendant, in this case Trump, must either be continuously out of the state or in a place unknown where they couldn't reasonably figure it out. Well, it can't be the second. Everybody knew where he was all the time, right? He wasn't hard to know where he was. So now you've got to show he was continuously out of the state for periods long enough to get the statute told to where this is a timely action. And continuously doesn't really mean what you think it means. It doesn't, for example, it doesn't mean continuously. It can be periods of time where you're out of the state and you come back into the state and things like that. And they'll, use those periods where you're out of the state to potentially toll the statute of limitations. And that, I'm sure, is what the DA is looking for here. There'll be some litigation over it, I'm sure, but the DA does have a leg to stand on here on the basis of the case law. So there you go. If in fact the indictments are over these false business records, you've seen the New York statute, it's not complicated. You see what it actually is. You know the elements that have to be proved. You know what the issue is on the statute of limitations. You can go forth and multiply in terms of people yelling and screaming at each other about this. At least you actually know, if these are what the indictments are premised on, what the actual legal issues are. And some people don't care and will just say he's guilty anyway. And some people don't care and say he's not guilty anyway. Well, if you care either way, if you're a rational person, at least apply your caring to the logic of the actual statutes involved and make your case in a way that would stand up to somebody who knows what they're talking about on the law. Well, that's it. Thanks. Bye.